Hi there, it's Jason from Jason's Weather Window. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to have a little look at the weather for March, the UK weather forecast for March, and also we're going to extend out and have a little look at what the trends are for Europe during the next month. Of course, March has begun on a really pleasant note, and as weather lore says, if it comes in like a lamb, it may go out like a lion. So we're going to look and see if we've got any evidence of that. What I would certainly suggest is that it's going to cool down. Already it's feeling much colder today and Wednesday, the 3rd of March, across the UK, where we're really struggling to even reach mid-single digits. It's about 3 or 4 degrees in many places this afternoon. It's feeling really chilly compared to what we had a couple of weeks ago. And that cold weather is going to stay with us, actually. It's going to be dry cold, generally speaking, until we get to about Tuesday of next week. And then we're looking for maybe the possibility of some snow in places. So we're going to cover all that. And we're also going to observe that spring may return, and it may return around about the 15th of March and become warmer and drier, sunnier for a time. All details you can find on Jason's Weather Window Facebook page, where we've got a full March forecast. But thanks for joining me for this weather video. As always, we use the ECMWF data. So without further ado, let's share some of that data. And if I can actually see the buttons there. There we go. So we're going on to the ECMWF site. Thanks very much for the use of these charts from the European Centre. So looking first of all at the pressure charts for the next week, and you can see a big purple expanded area of high pressure that is located over Scotland and ridging up towards Iceland and Greenland. That has brought the settled weather that we've enjoyed of late, but it's also bringing the cooler weather, because as that ridges up towards Iceland and Greenland, we just bring the winds in from the northeast, and we're going to feel a real chill, especially at night time, with some quite hard night frost, especially for the time of the year. Let's have a little look just now at the 500 hectopascal heights. Now, this is a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, and it gives us a good picture of what's going on actually at the surface. All those orange colours there are indicative of high pressure, and you can see the ridge right over the UK and extending up towards Iceland and Greenland. It's also given most of Europe a fairly settled week. Central Europe, the Mediterranean, as well, looking fairly settled, a little bit less settled towards the south of Spain and into northwestern parts of Africa, and also a little bit less settled in Scandinavia and northwestern parts of Russia. Here are your temperature anomalies for the next week, and you can see that we're in the blues there across the UK. So it's about 2 to 4 degrees below average, and I think you'll really realise that at night time with a couple of real sharp, hard frosts for us all, even in towns and cities, incidentally. Friday and Saturday look to be really cold nights there. Most of Europe has cooled down a little bit. It's been quite mild in Europe over the last 10 days. It's cooling down a little bit, but still warmer than average for southern France and into some parts of Central Europe, like Switzerland there. Temperatures between 4 and 6 degrees above normal this week. That warmth extends down into the Mediterranean, except for where it's less settled, so perhaps a little bit cooler in some eastern parts of Spain and into North Africa, northwestern parts of Africa. The rest of the Mediterranean, a little bit milder than average, perhaps, until you get to the Aegean. Parts of Greece experiencing a slightly cooler than average week, and those cooler anomalies run into Turkey and up into the Black Sea area as well. Looking at precipitation anomalies for this week, you can see that we're bathed in those beautiful orange colours, suggesting that it's going to be much drier than average, particularly so for the western part of Scotland. We're used to the westerly winds, of course, and at the moment the winds are coming in from the east or the northeast. So we've got more shelter in the west of Scotland. It's much drier compared to average. And also in Iceland and up into Greenland. But those dry anomalies do extend into Europe, into central parts of Europe, down into France, Spain, away from the south and east of Spain. It looks quite settled and dry compared to normal across Italy and Greece, the Aegean, and across through into Turkey. So most of Europe are having a drier than average week this week. Let me take you just a little bit further and we'll look at the pressure charts for the second week. And what a change. We're replacing all that high pressure with low pressure, and it's quite a deep trough indicated with the turquoise colours there. The difficulty here is that we're pulling the wind in from the north or the northwest, so it may appear like a polar maritime airflow, but actually the source of that air is Greenland or Iceland or even the Arctic. So next week does hold some wintry potential in the UK, and I'll show you more of that in just a few moments. Here is your 500 hectopascal flow, higher up in the atmosphere, deep trough centred right over Scotland, and you can see most of Europe becoming less settled next week, except for the far southwest of Europe. So parts of Spain and Portugal having a fairly decent week next week. The temperature anomalies are continuing colder than average. So 2 or 3 degrees, maybe 4 degrees below normal for the UK, away from the far south of England, which may be closer to average next week. Europe is definitely cooling down. The slightly warmer anomalies are just pushing further east, and it looks like Northern Europe is plunged back into the freezer next week. Looking at the precipitation anomalies for you, it looks far less settled next week. There's your higher than average rainfall totals, particularly for Ireland, parts of southern Scotland, England and Wales. But that unsettled weather has got into the Balkans, the Baltic states, the Netherlands, Low Countries and France, much less settled. And also Italy, western parts of Italy and western parts of Greece look to be less settled next week. And I'm just going to show you this now, week 3, and it looks like we're going to brighten up and dry out a little bit in week 3. So this is taking you from the 15th of March to the 22nd. And I think it's fair to say from about the 15th onward, things should settle down in the UK, much drier, a little bit warmer as well. And certainly the winds should calm down. So we lose that kind of stormy potential. And looking at the higher up flow at 500 hectopascals, you can see the orange colours there, suggesting a good ridge of high pressure in the upper atmosphere, that little N shape there, showing a nice ridge extending up from the Azores and working through the UK up into Iceland. And if we have a look at the the temperature anomalies, you can see it's become milder for western parts of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and the southwest of England. Nearer normal signals for the rest of Europe, although it does look to be a little bit warmer in the Mediterranean during week 3 compared to normal. And precipitation anomalies, you see the drier weather extending from the Azores up into Western Europe. So Portugal, Spain, parts of France as well, UK, and coming into Denmark, looking drier than average on week 3. The unsettled weather has transferred into the east of Europe and the western side of Russia by this stage. Mediterranean looks fairly average in terms of precipitation, perhaps drier anomalies to average, parts of Spain, Portugal, and again in parts of the Aegean. Okay, let's do one more week. Let's go out further until the end of March. High pressure signals for the west of Europe and low pressure signals for central and eastern parts of Europe. Looking at the 500 hectopascal flow, you can see the high pressure there, extending from the Azores up towards Greenland again. Low pressure, that trough transferring eastward across Central and Northern Europe by this stage. Temperature anomalies still looking a little bit cooler than average around the coastal fringes of the UK. No signal for most of the UK, so it looks like temperatures will return to average that week, but there is that little cold potential there in the northwest of Europe. And I think that would manifest as cold nights. During the day it would be quite pleasant, but by night there could be some frost and also some fog around with that particular setup. Precipitation anomalies look generally drier, but we're losing the signal this far out. Generally drier across the western side of Europe, through the UK and up into Scandinavia there. Okay, I'm just going to focus on the snow potential actually. I'm going to show you it by demonstrating where the wind is bringing the air in from. So this is the current situation where the flow is from the north or the northeast. And we just knock it on a day at a time. You can see that northerly, northeasterly flow coming into the UK tomorrow, again on Thursday. There we have it on Friday. The wind's coming all the way down from the Arctic actually and blowing down the Norwegian Sea into the North Sea and into the UK. So that's our pretty chilly spell to end this week. That continues into Friday. But you can probably notice there that the winds are beginning to shift back into the south on Saturday. So that's when slightly less cold air will come in at the weekend. And that continues into Sunday with a southerly flow there. And what that's doing is allowing the Atlantic to get back in. So quite pleasant on Sunday, spells of sunshine, a lot milder than it is just now, and brighter as well. And that should go into Monday as well. But here comes the change. Notice the wind arrows coming from the northwest as early as Monday, and those westerly or northwesterly winds begin to flow through the UK. So this is Wednesday, and you can see the air now is coming from Greenland and Iceland. Don't get me wrong, it's quite a modified flow as it crosses the Atlantic. It takes the sting out the cold, but that looks pretty cold. I call it cold zonality. So our normal westerly flow, but enhanced cold there as well. There is wintry potential next week for certain. There's Wednesday, and still we have that flow of quite cool air coming down the western side of Europe into Thursday. And that's as far as I'm going to take this one. I'd like to show you this final chart, and it's a snow cover for Europe. So at the moment, you can see that winter has retreated to the mountains of the Alps, the Pyrenees there as well, a few of the higher mountain ranges over Europe. Some parts of Turkey still have snow cover. Most of the snow, though, is over eastern and northeastern parts of Europe and northern Europe. Scandinavia has been caked with snow this entire winter. Just running it forward a little bit in 6 hour steps. You can see not a great deal of change by Friday, possibly some snow coming into central and eastern parts of Europe. And that snow is expanding there and round about the Black Sea. So we move into Monday. But watch the UK here. Here we have Tuesday. You can see some snow cover coming into the west of Scotland. It expands into the north of England as well. On Wednesday, there's Thursday, accumulating a little bit more snow on the ground, this is, on Wednesday and through Thursday. In fact, by Thursday, parts of Wales have got some snow cover. Parts of the northwest of Ireland and Northern Ireland has a little bit of snow cover, a little bit in the northwest of England too, but most of Scotland looking prone, especially the western side of Scotland, prone to some snow. There's later on Friday, just expanding that snow a little bit as we go through next week. And yeah, the western side of the UK is looking fairly snow covered there on Friday, but it begins to, day 10, just pull back to the northwest. So it appears that winter's not quite over with us yet. It looks like we could have some cold weather for the next few days, some quite severe frosts on Friday and Saturday night, chilly through the weekend, but by Tuesday, we see some cold zonality, western northwest winds, and the potential for snow in places next week. I'll keep you up to date with that. I'm going to end with the good news, though, that round about the 15th of March, it looks like spring will return. High pressure will ridge up from the Azores once more, and the temperatures will creep that little bit above average. I hope you're having a great day, and thank you so much indeed for joining me. Bye for now.